What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the new channel. That is right. We are here at Rookie HQ, presented by Player Profiler. Make sure you are absolutely smashing that subscribe button. We want to get the subscribers up. We want to make sure those numbers go up. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment. Let's get the algo here on YouTube to circulate this new channel. Let's get it populated. Let's get it popping, because here will be your one-stop shop at Rookie HQ for all things, you guessed it, rookies. And, of course, I am your host of Blue Chips, the authentic one, Mr. Matty Kiwoom, and this is Blue Chips, the show where I get into the nitty-gritty, start talking about the prospects that are now playing on Saturdays that will inevitably be playing on Sundays. All things prospects, all things rookies, right here at Rookie HQ, presented by Player Profile. And on today's episode, the inaugural episode here at Rookie HQ, I am going to get into my big board. This isn't a fantasy big board. This is a strictly NFL big board. This is all things rookies, 1 through 75. I'll make sure to put a link in the description so that you can check it out at playerprofiler.com. Big Board 2.0 will be dropping soon enough. We'll be having updates throughout. There won't be necessarily these big drops of my big board. It'll just be a consistent, updating and upkeeping and changing and kind of going as, evolving as this, the draft season unfolds. But now we're going to have a big unveiling because college football is essentially done. We just have now 4 teams left playing for the national championship. Now, maybe the first 2 overall picks playing against each other this week. Pretty exciting. Awesome stuff. Not really going to talk about them, though. You're going to be hearing a lot about those rookies. So now we're going to get into my big board. I'm talking a little big picture stuff, some meta stuff, some high volume, all this stuff up here. And then, of course, I want to dive into a little bit of player spotlight. Just give you a few of some of the guys. I'm not going to dub them my guys just yet, but early on in the process, throughout this, the scouting, this evaluation process, these are guys that have stood out to me. These are players that, as of right now, I'm very, very excited to see. Very, very excited to see down in Mobile. Going to be in Mobile, scouting there at the Senior Bowl, be in Indy, looking at the Combine, getting a chance to talk to these players, talk to people in the industry, get a feel. I don't got a lot of sources, but I got some, so I'll be tapping in, plugging in with them or at these events over the next few weeks to months. And then, of course, it's all going to culminate in the best draft show on the internet at Player Profiler. I'll be live from Pittsburgh, bringing you each and every pick with the guys that have just made it so much fun to do it over there. But without further ado, let's get into my big board 2.0. So this is a top 75 that you will see at playerprofile.com. That number will keep growing. It'll keep expanding. It'll keep evolving as the draft season kind of rolls out. As of right now, I only have 3 quarterbacks listed in my top 75. So it's not particularly a heavy quarterback class, but all 3 of them are in my top 12. But here's the skinny, folks. By the time the dust settles, we may only have 1. There might be 1 belle of the ball. We know Fernando Mendoza is going to declare for the NFL draft. I mean, Indiana has already found their 2026 QB, Josh Hoover, transferring from TCU. So Mendoza, after winning the Heisman Trophy, after potentially winning a national championship, he is going to salute the Hoosiers, salute Kurt Cignetti, head to the pros. So we know we're going to get 1 QB. But do we get Dante Moore? QB from Oregon, still undecided. Seems like what I'm hearing, the reading between the tea leaves and what I'm hearing from members, people in the league, that things have shifted for Moore. And just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, it seemed certain he was going to head back to college. But now we're hearing rumbles of Oregon, entertaining potentially Dylan Raiola in the transfer window, maybe some of the other high quality, high demand, high end prospects that are in the transfer portal. Sam Levitt, DJ Lagway, these are guys are now all of a sudden on the Oregon radar. And if that is the case, I would imagine that Dante Moore is going to jump ship to the NFL. Very high-end prospect. And then, of course, the third quarterback in my big board right now is Ty Simpson, which seems as seems pretty good that he's going to go back to school. And once we get those, official declarations and official decisions, we'll edit the big board as he fit, right? But as of right now, I got all three ranked: Simpson, Moore, Mendoza, all three in my top 12. None after that. So can you imagine what's going to happen when these NFL mocks come out? If only one quarterback is on the list, we will put him on the Raiders, and we will move on. But as of right now, I got three in my top 75. And here's how it breaks down. Because, of course, a lot of people coming to the Rookie HQ channel. And, again, make sure you're subscribed. Like this video. Let's get these numbers up. Let's put it together. Let's Player Profiling Nation come together. And let's build this awesome channel. Because, again, if you love fantasy, you love team building, big part of both is rookies and evaluating and figuring out who goes where. How does it work? Evaluating these kids, and it starts right now. It's already started. To be honest, I've been at this for quite a while. But anyway, for the fantasy folks, for the Player Profiler Nation here that's tuning in again, thank you. Here's what we got. I got one round one running back, Jeremiah Love. Spoiler alert, number one overall prospect right now on the big board. I got 4 round one wide receivers. I'll talk about one here when I get to the spotlights. And only 1 round one tight end. Now, I am going to talk tight end. There's a player that I really like so far in the process, but he doesn't have a round one grade. Probably won't. I can't imagine he will get a round one grade, at all throughout this process. But right now he's top 3, and I do want to talk about him. Excuse me, taking a little sip of my coffee here. And then so that rounds out. So I got 1, 5, 6 fantasy relevant skill position players with a round one tag. So these are going to be the premier players here in our fantasy draft. So I just want to give you a little sneak peek of that. Now, let's talk about some overall strengths and weaknesses that are in this draft as I see it currently. Just a few days before my birthday. Make sure you reach out, say happy birthday. I'm not going to tell you the date, though, because I don't know when you're watching this. But anyway, strengths of the class, the defense. There are some really, really good defensive players. Now, what's going to make this interesting and what makes my big board a bit interesting to start off is it's a good defensive class overall, but your big ticket players, your edge rushers, your cornerbacks, your defensive tackles, they're not really riddled throughout the top of the big board or really throughout. Of course, they're represented because there are some good players. Like I said, strength of the class is defense overall. But what is really interesting, what I'm very excited to see play out, is how the NFL responds to this super deep linebacker. Couldn't get the word out, so fantasy focused, but fantasy's over. It's all about all positions. The linebacker class and the safety class are particularly deep. There are some good players, and there are some elite players at the top of my big board. Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, you know the names. But on top of that, I mean, we have running backs from Bama, from Texas. There's linebackers all over the place. Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez, my guy. Whether he plays safety or linebacker in the pros, I don't know, but he's going to be a playmaker in the pros. It's just a really deep class for these positions that don't have a lot of position value. You don't see linebackers and safeties historically get pushed up in NFL drafts. So I'm curious and excited to see how the NFL kind of looks at it because there's some good ones. But overall, great defensive class, good edge rushers, good players all throughout. Another strength of this class is offensive line. Now, there is some sentiment, kind of in the draft world that it's not a particularly loaded offensive line class because there's not a true left tackle, like a franchise left tackle. There's no Joe Alt in this class. As of now, as I see it now, as I evaluate right now, as we stand early January, there's no true franchise left tackles. But hey, they were saying that last year about Will Campbell, and he's done a damn good job for my New England Patriots. Went 4th overall last year. And despite there not being, that true to form, stereotypical, no doubt franchise left tackle, there are really good tackles. Some may end up going inside. Some may stay at right tackle. We don't know how it's going to span out. Again, this time last year, there's a lot of sentiment that Will Campbell couldn't play on the left side, and he's done a damn good job for my New England Patriots 2 seed in the playoffs. Let's go. But on top of them being good tackles, Fanu, Manungai, Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor right now is probably a back end of the first grade at the left or the offensive line. But this guy's 6'8", 350 plus pounds. He is a horse, and he's a athlete. if there's anyone in this draft of any position that could have the most helium, have a rocket right up boards, it's a guy like this, super athlete who has progressed in his career. I mean, this is a no doubt 5-star prospect who took some time to get going, but has gotten going and just coming off his best season yet in college. And a player in which he plays offensive line, but carries out of the shot, the wildcat. I mean, this guy's wildly athletic. So right now, there's no true franchise left tackles, but there are good tackles. And then I am really high on a number of other offensive linemen that, as of right now, don't have those round 1 tags. But as the process unfolds, these are guys I could absolutely see elevating them up, not just my big board, but big boards across the community, across the industry. Emmanuel Pregnon, Brian Parker II, Carter Smith. These are guys who graded out super strongly, very good seasons, and they have a lot of what it takes. A lot of these guys have, Pregnon's in the middle, but I think he might be the best guard. I think he could surpass the kid from Penn State. I think he could be the number 1 interior lineman selected. Parker, Smith, both graded well. Smith's still playing. Right, for Indiana. So there's a lot to be that's going to play out. But I like this offense. I think it's a strength of the class. Now, on the other side, the weaknesses, like I mentioned earlier, QBs could be thin. If we don't get more, we probably only get 1 first-round quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, all of these guys who would labeled as potential first-round draft picks in August have completely fallen by the wayside. We're looking at, I don't even know if we see second round. I mean, we'll see him in day 2, but we could wait till round 3. This could be, a really not apples for apples, because I think the prospects in this class are better than the ones of the Kenny Pickett class, but we could see, 1 quarterback in round 1 and we wait until round 3. There could be a big gap where we see these quarterbacks selected. So the QB prospect class is thin, even if Moore and Simpson declare. But if they don't, and it's just Fernando Mendoza, we know he's going to go to the Raiders. After that, I don't know when we'll see another quarterback. Could we see one elevated because of the thinness of the class? Potentially. But these GMs, these team builders are getting real hip to, just strategizing and maneuvering around these draft boards. So I think it's a relatively thin class at tight end, at quarterback, but we're all preparing for that 2027 class. We're talking about 26, but man, oh man, you let your mind wander, you start to daydream, you get a little of that imagination going, you just can't help but get excited about 27, but we're not there yet. We are in 26, and as right now, the QB, position in 2026 is a pretty thin one. And overall, I think a big weakness of this draft and why it's going to be very advantageous for the already set up teams, and you're probably saying, Kiwoom, you're the authentic one. Why are you lying to us? I'm not. Drafts are meant to help the bad teams. That's why bad teams get the first picks. But in a draft like this, where there's a real lack of overall playmaking, almost at every position, like I said, good offensive line class, not a lot of left tackle stability. Good defensive class, not a lot of big ticket position players. The edges, there's some good ones, but there's no difference maker. There's no real game wrecker. There's, guys I like, and I'll talk about one here in a minute, but they come with some I don't know if they're red flags, but some hesitation, yellow flags, I'd say, maybe even orange flags, a little nervous. But just overall, receiver, quarterback, even, the number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, is he an RPO system guy who needs to rely on a particular team with a particular set of skills, with a particularly good run game to be, successful in the NFL? I don't know. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see kind of what I see from these guys these last couple games and at the combine and whatnot. So there's just a real lack of playmaking, real lack of difference makers and guys you go, ooh, that guy's going to change the game for us. There's a little bit of a lack of that. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a massive issue throughout, and I don't think it's going to be a weak class overall. I think there are some good points, but I think in classes like this where there's no shiny objects, bad teams are kind of at a loss. What do I do with my 5th overall pick? There's no difference maker? Do I reach on a running back who's probably the best in the class? Do I take a safety? Do I take a linebacker? Maybe the second linebacker off the board in the top 10? Like, there's going to be some questions answered because there's going to be some confusion as to how these players get evaluated based on the positions and the skill and the overall playmaking ability. So I think that's something that I'm definitely going to watch. So now after that, that's the kind of my big ticket, my big items, my meta thoughts on this class as we sit here early in 2026. And after we get back from this commercial break, I'm going to spotlight 3 players that are in my big board, in my top 75, that I want you, the listeners of Rookie HQ, remember, like, subscribe, get this thing going. We'll talk about it right after this.
Oh, big news. Fast Draft has 2 best ball tournaments live right now. The Origins All Rookie game for 2026. That's right. 2026 best ball is upon us. All rookies with Origins. $10,000 prize pool. And then we have our playoff Super Slam. You just pick 6 guys for the entire NFL playoffs and you let it ride. That one also has a $10,000 prize pool. Yes, things are happening at Fast Draft. The code is FAST to get a $50 deposit match. Let's go.
Rookie HQ, this is Blue Chips, and I am the authentic one, Mr. Matty Kiwoom, and I'm going through my big board that you can find at playerprofiler.com. Make sure you are playing all the games that Fast Draft offers. I mean, you can call it bias, you can call it whatever you want, but the Fast Draft app is amazing. It's a lot of fun. It's quick. Sometimes, you're waiting around, when's my pick? Nope, Fast Draft takes away all of those headaches, and you could just play fantasy, get in, get out, and then potentially win some money. So let's get into some spotlights here. These are players that I am particularly high on, players I am very excited to see throughout the process, and let's get into number 1, Mr. David Bailey from Texas Tech. He is my number 2 edge rusher in the class and my number 3 overall prospect. He is a twitchy edge defender with a first step quickness that absolutely causes chaos when it comes to tackles. If he can beat you off the snap, those tackles are in for a long day. He wins with effort. He's got a high motor, and he's got the tools, consistently. He chases down plays. I mean, he's got that high motor. He plays quick. He plays fast. Like I said, good first step, and he's not afraid to make some tackles in the backfield, whether it be running back or quarterback. And he can catch up quick. Like I said, high motor guy. Now, with the good things of the motor, do come some negativity with high motor players. Now, his motor runs a little hot. And that aggression sometimes can lead to him overrunning, maybe kind of getting past the running back, losing containment on a running back. And so these disciplined offenses, we saw that play out in the college playoffs where these monsters on the edge were a bit mitigated because you can kind of play their aggression against him. He does flash functional power when he makes contact, but I don't know if it's going to be a strength necessarily that can consistently anchor his pass rushing game plans in the NFL. I think he's strong enough. He's got the size, but I don't know quite how that will translate consistently. Now, overall, his prospect, 6'3", 250 pounds. He was one of the best defenders in all of college football this year. Led the nation in sacks. He had 15 sacks. This is a guy with a ton of hurries, ton of hits on the quarterback, graded out well in platforms like PFF and whatnot. This is a guy that is, as of right now, in my opinion, a shoo-in for the top 12 of the draft, but I think we could see this guy go inside the top 10, top 8, depending on how that 2, 3, 4 kind of span out. But David Bailey has been awesome this year. Like I mentioned, this is a total pass rusher. This guy's a hand in the dirt type of kid, can rush, from standing up. A lot of tackles for loss, 29 tackles for loss. Really, really high motor. Really, really kind of that Tasmanian devil off the edge. And if you're looking for a comp, again, this is early comps, but comps are really what people like to sink their teeth into. I'm doing a comp range this early, kind of the type of player on the less exciting end all the way to the very exciting end. I think his comp range is a Josh Uche all the way to a Brian Burns. Now, of course, if I'm going to have him as my 3 overall prospect, I see him being more of a Brian Burns type than the Josh Uche type, but either way, high motor, Really good player. He's going to bring a lot of energy. And if you could put him on a team where he is not the number one pass rusher, a defense that always comes to mind is the Rams. You can get a guy like this on the Rams where you can just let him pin his ears back, dig into the dirt, and just get that motor going. There's going to be some fun landing spots for David Bailey, but I don't think he'll last long. This is a guy early on in the process I have ranked inside my top 3, a guy I see coming off the board inside the top 10 of the NFL draft. The second player that I'm going to spotlight here in my big board is Elijah Sarratt, wide receiver from Indiana. I got him at wide receiver 5 right now, my 36 overall player. He's long, fluid, your prototypical, no doubt about it, outside receiver. He's got natural stride length, and he can absolutely eat cushion. That if you play off this guy, he will eat it up quick, and he will stress out these cornerbacks vertically. Despite the size, he's a big kid, big frame. He can push the ball. He can be a downfield weapon. He uses that frame. He uses his big frame very, very effectively. You can see it on the tape. He's good at shielding defenders. He's really good for slants, fades, those back shoulder throws, which, he needs to use to win. He kind of lacks, that sudden twitch out of breaks. He's not going to be the quickest. He's not going to be the guy that wows throughout the process. He's not going to run the big 40-yard dash. It's not going to be the guy that, really tears up the combine and whatnot, but he's fundamentally sound, and he's got that dog in him. And not only do you see that dog come out when it comes to, beating up defenders and abusing cornerbacks in the end zone, he's a really good effort blocker. He's willing. He's willing to get dirty. He relies on some of that, that length, that size. He's good timing, and he could absolutely demolish people. And despite not really having necessarily that quick twitch type stuff, he's pretty sharp in terms of, your change of direction abilities. Doesn't really show off in the yak numbers, but he's got a good yards per route run, and he's got 13 touchdowns this year. That's second most amongst qualified wide receivers in the NFL. And I talked a lot about the frame, and it is what is that I would say that's his biggest strength. The frame is what's going to play at the NFL. 6'2", 213 pounds. My hope for him throughout the process is maybe he puts on a little bit of weight, comes in at like 218, doesn't necessarily worry about the 40, but you know how these kids are. We'll see how it goes with a guy like Sarratt. But I don't think he's going to be a burner. I don't see a ton of speed when you watch the film, but his ability to control his positioning on the field, shield defenders, get open. I just see a lot of success coming his way at the NFL level. I actually have him ranked as a round 1 projected player. He is going to be riddled all over my round 1 of mock drafts. We all know receivers tend to climb up. There tends to be a huge need for them. And I think Sarratt is going to benefit from that, and I think he is going to be very successful. He's probably going to go in the back half of round 1, which would be great going to one of these offenses, like a Pittsburgh, New England, Buffalo. These teams that are good, that don't necessarily have an early pick, but they can get Sarratt, and he'll do really well. And he's been good over his career. I mean, he's been all over the place. St. Francis, James Madison at Indiana. And over Indiana, these 2 years there, no less than 725 receiving yards in a given year, over 20 touchdowns combined. He's been awesome. And my comp range for Elijah Sarratt is Allen Lazard to Michael Pittman Jr. Again, I want to give the range because I don't know how it's going to play out. This is early in the process. But as of right now, watching, using some of the analytics that are at my fingertips here, I've come to this comp range of Allen Lazard to Michael Pittman Jr. I see more Michael Pittman than I do Allen Lazard, but Allen Lazard, in the right situation, had some golden years, had some good years, decent years at least. I think he's a lot better than Allen Lazard, but I think that big body, that big frame, that translates well. So my comp range for Allen Lazard, or for Elijah Sarratt, is Allen Lazard to Michael Pittman Jr. And the last player that I'm going to talk about in this video, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in here at Rookie HQ. This is Blue Chips. I'm Matty Kiwoom. Make sure you subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. Please help us out. Let's grow this channel because, again, if you are a fan of fantasy football, and of course you are because you know Player Profile at the best analytical website for fantasy football, you're trying to get a leg up on your league mates. Rookie HQ, we get ahead of it all. And I don't just talk about fantasy players. I just, David Bailey, talk everything. This is where you come for all things rookies in the NFL, the prospects that are here on Saturday, that'll be on Sunday. That is the motto here at Blue Chip. So without further ado, the last player that I'm going to talk about is a tight end, Tanner Koziol. from Houston. Right now, I got him at tight end 3. He's at 74 overall. So I got 3 tight ends in my top 75. And he is the third of the 3. But I don't know if the gap between him and the 2 above him are as large or as wide as a lot of the industry talk now would have you believe. Of course, there's a lot to play out, but this is a kid that looks like an NFL tight end. He's a big-bodied kid. He's got a broad frame. He's got a big natural catch radius, everything that quarterbacks want out of their tight end at the next level. And he does present a really, really noticeable mismatch when he goes up against linebackers and safety. Again, this is something that you want to see out of your tight end when you're taking one from the NFL draft. He's got reliable hands, good pass catcher. He can pluck the ball away, use his frame, finish through traffic. He's got those aggressive, nasty hands. He's got, a bit soft, which is good. You want those soft hands. Make sure you catch it, let it come to the web. But it's aggressive. I mean, he will pluck the ball away. He's good in traffic. He's good over the middle. He's checking a lot of the boxes when it comes to being successful in college and what translates to the NFL. He does show very good spatial awareness, especially when he goes against zone coverage. He likes to settle down, presents a clean target for the quarterback. Again, I don't want to. My comp for him is not Travis Kelce, but that was a skill set that's allowed Travis Kelce to be so good for so long. He shows some of that, and that's something that translates to the NFL. His yards after catch production, however, there's a bit left to be desired. He kind of grinds it out. He's a tough kid, like I said, big body, tough kid, but he's not super explosive. I don't know if he's going to be a super special athlete at the combine throughout the process, but he's got good balance, toughness, and again, big body kid, tough to bring down. He has the effort. He's got the effort. He will, like I said, grind out some extra yards after the catch. I like to think of him as an effort player, which always will be elevated. A little, peek behind the curtain. My process, if you are good at football, you help your team win, you're a high effort guy, you will be elevated throughout my big board. Whether it makes me look good or not, I really don't give a rip. I like to grade, and I believe in the effort players, the kids that, you could see on film that he's going to be a good teammate, a good player, reliable, dirty, get his job, do the job. I'm from New England, do your damn job, right? Those are the players I like, and I consider him absolutely one. He'll complete snaps from the whistle. He brings a professional approach, does, like I said, the dirty work, isn't afraid to take players on. And this year, he's having a really good year for Houston. 727 receiving yards. That's second amongst qualified tight ends in the nation. 6 tutties. He plays a little bit in the slot here. 51% in the slot. He can go out wide. He's very versatile, but he can play in line. About 40% in line snaps. He's got a 2.24 yards per route run. Good yak numbers, right around 300 yards of yak, about 4 per touch. Good player. And then again, I mentioned how big he is, 6'7", 250. 6'7". Sorry, I got little kids. What do you expect? 6'7", 250. Big kid, able-bodied kid. And we like to see these guys come from small schools, go to a bigger program, and produce. He went to Ball State in 2024, balled out at Ball State, 840 receiving yards, 8 tutties. Went over to Houston, elevation in competition, still warranted, almost 100 targets, caught 74 of them. Like I said, 727 receiving yards, 6 tutties. Koziol is, I think he's going to be my biggest surprise at tight end. Like I said, big frame, knows how to use the athlete, and I think this is a guy that we see right now. I got him ranked right around a third-round grade, definitely day 2, but I think he can elevate into maybe my top 55, top 60 for sure. I think he's got a lot of growth, a lot of room at the top to excel, a lot of ceiling when it comes. And as of right now, comp range, Tyler Conklin to Dalton Schultz. Now, those names aren't going to wow you. They ain't first-round tight ends. I don't have him ranked as a first-round tight end, but I think he's a very good tight end. And, of course, we always want to string it back to fantasy. This is a network presented by Player Pro. This is the type of kid that you take in the 3rd round, end of your 2nd round potentially, if he gets a draft capital, and then you all of a sudden, ooh, I got a tight end in my hands. Ooh, look at this guy. Oh, baby, look at this tight end working for me. Tanner is the type of tight end. You can go in day 2, go in the 3rd round, go on offense. He can block. He can stay in line. He can be out wide. He's got the frame. He's got everything you want when it comes to your tight end prospect. So I wanted to bring him up. My comp range for him, Tyler Conklin, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has had a great year. You like Tyler Conklin in the past? Tanner Koziol, David Bailey, Elijah Sarratt. Those are my player spotlights. And that is the first episode here on Rookie HQ of Blue Chips. I am the authentic one, Matty Kiwoom. Again, thank you so much for hanging out throughout this first episode. Make sure you are subscribed to Rookie HQ. Make sure you go and subscribe to Player Profiler Plus. Player Profiler. Get all your Player Pros subscriptions ready, dialed in, because we're just getting started. We're cooking here. So make sure you're subscribed to Rookie HQ. Make sure you like this video. Leave a comment. Who is your favorite college prospect heading into the process? And I will see you next time.